Looks like it's going to be firing up here shortly. Takes it a minute. I can see you. But it may take a while for the public for it to see it out there.
It looks like it says live on my screen.
You are live.
Okay.
And then I usually just turn it off so that I don't, because there's such a delay in it. So I'm not hearing both.
So yeah, you're live. I'm going to make you the host.
Okay, perfect.
And I will keep an eye on it, but I'm going to sign. Is there anything else you need from me? If not, I'm signing off. You good, Marcia, Justice Steagall? Okay. You have my phone number, right, Marcia? I'll be monitoring my email anyways, but if you
Okay,
want,
can you shoot it to me real quick since it's just the three of us?
Yeah, 785.
Okay.
766.
Okay.
5143.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Have a good meeting.
Hey, thanks.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to start the conference call now.
Okay.
And then you can tell me when you want me to start letting people in.
Welcome to Reservation Plus Conferencing. Enter your conference code followed by the pound or hash sign. Thank you. If you are the leader, press star now. Please enter your leader PIN followed by the pound or hash sign. After the tone, state your name followed by the pound or hash sign.
Marcia Johnson for Justice Caleb Steagall.
To start or join your conference, press 1. To change, you will now be placed into conference. After joining the call, to record the conference for those who may miss this call, or for future playback, press star 2.
And Doug said he didn't have anybody call in requesting the number, so we probably won't have any public comment.
Okay.
And looks like we've got 7 people waiting.
Yep.
I don't know who iPad is. Huh. Johnston. And we'll want to double check to make sure everybody's name is correctly as shown.
Right.
So how has your comment watching been? We've like had a blast.
Yeah, it's been pretty spectacular. So
Now, do you use a stacking program or anything like that for your pictures, or?
So at the top of my screen, it says live YouTube.
Yes.
So are we being broadcast right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, sorry. Yes. Yeah. Well, my sister wanted me to ask that question because she has been playing around with her pictures and getting different kinds of views and stuff, but yeah.
So we have 8 people in the room. Why don't we?
We're just missing 1. So you want me to start admitting?
Yeah, that would be good.
All right.
Followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. Please enter the meeting password followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are 10 participants in the meeting.
And go ahead with Judge Young too?
Yes,
Okay.
I think that. Have we admitted everyone?
Yes, I've admitted everyone. 1, 2, 3. I think we're one commission. I'm trying to figure out which commission member that's not on yet. Let's see.
Well, there's 11 folks and there are 3 of us who are not commission members. So that would tell me that we have all 8 of us.
Or was Todd Heitschmidt one by chance that was supposed to be on, or no?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8. Yep, 8 commission members. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Okay.
And that's how many we have, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So somebody's still connecting to audio there. Well, while that's going on, I will say welcome to everyone and good morning. Welcome to this interesting format for doing a nominating commission meeting. I presume everyone can hear me?
Yes.
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 Yes. Or something. Okay, great. Well, Judge Young has also joined us in the Zoom call, and we will turn this over to her in just a minute. But preliminary matters. I trust that our technology will not fail us. I hope that's the case. Certainly, we've been assisted by the staff at the Supreme Court greatly, and my thanks to them, and thanks from the commission to you, Marcia, and also to our to Kelly and those folks. I understand that we are broadcasting live on YouTube right now to all your adoring fans out there who tuned in to watch you work. So just be aware of that this is a public meeting still, even though it feels perhaps more intimate than being in the courthouse would. You'll notice that I have very poor lighting in my office right now because I don't have lighting at all. So I'm coming to you via battery power only, as I live in rural Jefferson County and we do not have power right now. So I'm trusting that my battery packs will hold out and that I will not just drop off the screen. But I suppose that's possible at some point. And if that happens, I will try to get on my phone and go in by conference call. So that's my situation. Hopefully it won't be too much of an inconvenience for us. So with that, let's go ahead and take the roll and make sure that we have a quorum present, and then we'll move on with our agenda. Marcia, would you be willing to do that, please?
Yes. Lance Cochran,
Here.
Jay Macy,
Here.
Bob German,
Present.
Christine Ritter,
Here.
Peter Johnston,
Here.
David Stanley,
Here.
Bob Martin,
Here.
and Daryl Wilson.
Here.
Okay.
Very good. So we have a full complement of the commission. So we do have a quorum. Our first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from our July 14th meeting. So the chair would entertain a motion to do so.
Judge, Justice, this is Bob German. I would make a motion to approve those minutes. I received them yesterday afternoon.
Thank you.
Second from Bob Martin.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. So we are here this morning to interview and then elect the newest district magistrate judge to fill the vacancy that's being created by the retirement of Judge Thrower. And as you all know, the chief judge of the district is Judge Renee Young. And we've invited her here today to give a short summary of the duties and responsibilities that will be on the new judge. Hopefully that will give you all some good context for questions and discussion that you may have with respect to our candidates. So Judge Young, the floor is yours.
Well, I think, first of all, it's important for everyone to understand that Saline County and Ottawa County are very busy. And the Ottawa County magistrate would be presiding over cases, not only in Ottawa County, but also in Saline County. In Ottawa County, the magistrate would be presiding over a criminal docket, which would include first appearances in criminal cases and traffic cases. The magistrate would be presiding over most of the preliminary hearings in criminal cases. In higher level criminal cases, a district judge may preside over those. Also, the magistrate would be presiding over all bench trials in misdemeanor cases and bench trials in traffic cases. As to the civil docket, the magistrate will be presiding over the limited action docket and also over some domestic cases. The magistrate would also be presiding over a child needed care and juvenile offender dockets, and also handling hearings on petitions for protection from abuse and stalking. And also there are Ottawa County search warrants that the magistrate would be reviewing and signing. And I believe that that should primarily cover the duties in Ottawa County. As to Saline County, the magistrate would be presiding over the child needed care docket and the truancy and juvenile offender docket. And in past years, Judge Thrower has been spending Wednesdays and Thursdays primarily in Saline County, and she has been working out of Ottawa County primarily on Mondays and Tuesdays. And I think on some Fridays, she does come to Ottawa County to also preside over contested matters or bench trials that she may have in Saline County. But I believe that that should cover primarily what she presides over, or the magistrate position would be presiding over. Any questions?
Thank you, Judge Young. Yes, anyone who has any questions about the position?
So Judge Young, how do you handle which preliminary hearings the magistrate judge might get and which ones they might not get?
Well, in Saline County, the judges that preside over the criminal cases handle all of the preliminary hearings. In Ottawa County, the magistrate would be presiding over the vast majority of the cases. There would be, there may be a higher level case that he or she may not be comfortable with, or that the district judge may just choose to preside over.
But for the most part, the magistrate judge would be expected to handle most all of the preliminary hearings.
Correct.
In Ottawa County.
Correct.
Thank you.
Other questions? Well, Judge Young, you're welcome to stay on the Zoom call and observe if you want, or not.
Okay, thank you. I probably will for a while anyway. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and giving us that information. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we're at the point in our agenda where the commission can receive any public comment on the vacant position and or the applicants. I don't know whether or not in our announcements that went out, it was made clear that members of the public would be able to join the conference call and offer their public comment should they desire to do so. I don't know whether we have anyone lined up to do that, but this is the time for that. Marcia, do you know whether or not, can you tell whether or not we have any folks on the line?
No one has pinged in and no one has responded. So.
Well, I'll leave a 5-second gap here if anyone is on the line. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone, so we will move on. This is the point in our meeting at which the chair would entertain a motion to retire to executive session. The purpose of this executive session is for my office essentially to report to commission members the result of the confidential background checks that are performed by the KBI on the applicants. And I can report to the commission that in my judgment, this will not take longer than about 10 minutes. So that would be my suggested period of time for executive session.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So we have a motion to retire to executive session for 10 minutes. Right now it is 9:42 according to my computer clock. So we'll say until 10:42, that would be the motion. Any discussion?
9:52?
9:52, right.
Okay, 9:52.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So for those of you observing on YouTube, if we perform the technical maneuvers correctly, we are going to retire to executive session in a private chat room. Is that correct, Marcia?
That's correct.
And then once there, we'll proceed with the confidential portion of the meeting. So Marcia, go ahead.
Okay, you guys should be going in.
Okay.
Okay, good morning, Judge. I'm going to see if I can. I've got to get my executive session signed.
And is it easier for me just to exit out and come back in 10 minutes or something, or?
Well, I'd have to let you back in, which isn't a problem, but you can just stay on. It's fine with me.
Okay.
And then I'm going to share screen. Let's see.
Are you working out of home or you?
Oh, I wish. I'm also kind of out in the, Okay, now I'm here. I thought maybe I just sent myself out of the Zoom. Do
Okay.
you see on the YouTube note? Are you watching
I
live?
do. I do.
Okay.
No, I'm on the, it does say live on YouTube.
Okay, perfect. I think that's good. Okay. No, I am and the public can still hear us. I'm actually out in a rural area that does not have Wi-Fi very well. So I have to come in and do this.
Okay.
Otherwise it would just kick me off every like 20 seconds. So.
Okay, just for the benefit of everyone watching and everyone listening, we are still technically in executive session, although the commission's work in executive session has ended. So we are trickling back into the main room. Now, I will still wait until 9:52 to resume our public meeting. Okay, I believe we are back. Back in the portion of our meeting. Has everyone rejoined us, Marcia? Can you see?
Yes.
Great. Next item on our agenda is the actual interviews. The commission at an earlier meeting chose to schedule these interviews on the half-hour increment by alphabetical order. And so anyone observing the current schedule is Mr. Andrew Couch at 10 o'clock, Ms. Amy Crawford at 10:30, and Mr. Jason Parks at 11. That's how this was scheduled. However, if the interviews end early or don't take the full 30 minutes, the commission may, if there are no objections, just kind of roll straight through these 3 interviews. Marcia, can you confirm that we have our 3 applicants on the meeting?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up, Justice Stiegel.
I'm just asking whether or not we've got our 3 applicants with us, or are we anticipating them joining us later?
I asked in their emails to join approximately 5 to 10 minutes before their scheduled time.
Okay.
But no one has joined or is requesting in yet.
Okay, well, you might email both Ms. Crawford and Mr. Parks and just give them a heads up to be on standby.
Okay.
Okay, with them. Certainly, we will honor the 10:30 and 11 time slots if that's what they require. But
okay.
Just as a courtesy heads up, that was a request the commission had.
Okay.
Okay, before we start our first interview, I just wanted to give the commission a brief moment to discuss amongst itself the procedures that you want to follow for these interviews. Typically, I just welcome the candidate in and allow the candidate a chance to give an opening statement. And then it's sort of a typical interview free-for-all where any commission member who has questions can feel free to ask them. And then at some point, the questions will sort of peter out, and I'll give the candidate a chance to have any closing thoughts for the commission, and then we'll move on. That's how I typically have run these. What does everyone think?
Sounds good to me.
That's fine. It's fine with me as well.
Yes, sir. Oh, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good. That's what we will do. We're at 9:55, so Marcia, we are ready for Mr. Couch whenever he is available and ready. And
Okay.
I'm happy for us to wait a couple minutes if we need.
Okay. I'm admitting Mr. Couch. but he might want to change the name on his picture, if he can.
Yes, if you'll give me just 1 second, I have to remember how I used to do this for my daughter all the time when she had classes by Zoom.
Mr. Couch, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
I'm having trouble with your feed. Is everyone else?
Yes.
Yes, I'm having trouble.
Yeah, you're a little bit freezing and skipping, Mr. Couch.
Okay. I'm not having any trouble on my end. Do you want me to leave and then come back in and see if it works better then?
Actually, that was better. At least your audio was clear for me. And I'm seeing commission members nodding. So let's go ahead and give this a go. And obviously, we all are familiar with this new Zoom world and trying to be flexible with the technology. So we'll extend that same courtesy to you, of course. But let's hope it works. And I'm just going to turn the floor over to you, Mr. Couch, to give any kind of opening statement or share your opening thoughts with the commission. I'm sure they will have questions for you, and then you'll have a chance to wrap up. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Justice Siegel and members of the nominating commission for your time and service on the commission. I look forward to this opportunity to discuss my qualifications on the magistrate judge position with you. I believe my 12 years of legal experience working with distressed families in North Central Kansas will be an asset in helping on sync and juvenile justice. I also know my experience has equipped me with the temperament and mindset to deal with people when they are at their most difficult moments. I look forward to answering any questions you may have that may assist you in making a decision for this position.
Very good. Thank you. It's the floor is yours, commission members, for questions. One thing I might say,
Andrew, this.
Sorry about that. Maybe to help everyone, if you could mute your microphone when you're not speaking, I think that would help everyone be able to hear. And I interrupted someone, so go ahead. Sorry about that.
Your Honor, this is Lance Cochran. Andrew, my question would be, what is it about your disposition to become a judge?
Well, it's not, I'm not somebody who went into law thinking that I wanted to become a judge. I went to law because I wanted to try to help solve problems. I like solving problems. I like working on helping people come up with ways to solve problems. And I'm not good at puzzles. My wife's the one who's good at puzzles, but I do enjoy kind of brainstorming with people, trying to figure out ways to deal with issues and such. And so I found the law was a way to be able to do that. And my legal career has involved working with individuals in dealing with criminal issues they have or domestic issues. And it's all about problem solving and trying to work to figure out what is the goal that is trying to be achieved? How do we get to that goal? In what way can they help us get to that goal? Those kinds of things. So I think that's interests me in being judges. This will be kind of another level up in being able to work with people, especially dealing with like child needed care cases and stuff, problem solving with them and trying to work out situations so that they have stronger families, stronger home lives, those kinds of things.
Mr. Couch, this is Peter Johnston, and if you could walk me through what experience you feel like you have in the criminal law world. I know I saw from your materials you had some municipal criminal law experience from your legal services time. I suspect you don't have a lot now in your current role, but could you just kind of walk through for us what experience you have in terms of the criminal law?
Sure. As you stated, when I was with Kansas Legal Services, I'd worked a contract they had with the city of Salina for the municipal court. So those were all misdemeanor cases. We had at various times 2/3 of the court-appointed defendants, and so there was a lot of cases to deal with. So I dealt with everything from initially meeting with the defendants to plea bargaining to trials. So I've had a multitude of bench trials on criminal matters. We also would take appeals up to the district court at times. So I've conducted some jury trials in the past, and I've had that experience. I also, Kansas Legal Services has offices throughout Kansas. So they have a Hayes office, and at times there were openings in those offices. So I went and I covered criminal contract dockets that they had in Great Bend on those cases. So that dealt with, again, mainly misdemeanor cases. Similarly, meeting with the clients, working on plea offers, preparing cases for trial. None of them ever went to trial, even when they were set because we cut deals, as the defendants wanted to do. And then I also worked a criminal contract in Ellsworth County for several years. So dealing with misdemeanors, a couple of felony cases we were pointed on, those all pled out. So I did not have any trials in that area. But so I did, for the 7 years that I was with Kansas Legal Services, I would say that about close to about 2/3 of my time was dealing with criminal defense on cases.
Andrew, this is Bob Martin. I have a little different question for you. As far as, I've dealt with you obviously, and who do you think organizational wise or temperament wise you are most similar to as far as judges you've appeared in front of? It may not just be one judge, it may be more than one judge, but who do you think as a judge on the bench you would be most like organizationally and temperament?
I think Judge Helmer had a good working relationship with the bar. That's something I would like to bring as well. I felt like he was always open to discussing cases with the bar and, working with them on different things. So I guess when you say organizationally, that would be somebody that I'm thinking of. I also like that what Judge Hickman has done to try to be kind of innovative and do things on the domestic bar his own way, where he's added the additional kind of dockets that we have on Tuesdays to be able to hear temporary order matters and those kinds of things. So I understand that if I get selected for this position, I'm coming in to fill some pretty big shoes. I mean, Judge Thrower has made quite an impact on her years on the bench. So I would want to come in and just throw the baby out with the bathwater and change everything that she's done. I would want to take a look at what she's doing and try to figure out where I think those things are working well, I'd like to talk with the members of the bar who are dealing with the cases about what they feel about what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, what they might suggest for changing, and then look for ways to just try to find more efficiencies and those kinds of things.
Mr. Couch, this is Christine Ritter. I want to follow up on that question. You said you would like to meet with members of the bar to see what's working and not working, but what about the other people that are involved with the processes, like all of your social workers and your other people that have to appear in court for all those different cases?
Absolutely. I think it's important to have good relationships with the agency, with the contractors that are doing the work. I also think it's a good thing to have a good relationship, working relationship with the staff that you're working with, the administrative assistant. I know Jill well, and I've had a good working relationship with her in the past. I don't have any reason to think I wouldn't going forward in the future. I would look to her also for suggestions on what she thinks. Obviously, she's there every day, hearing the cases and understanding what's going on. And I would look to her to see if she has any suggestions as to things that could be done differently, what maybe not be working, what's worked well. But absolutely, I would want to be having that same kind of relationship I'd have with the bar as far as being someone who's open to getting their input and feedback. I would extend that also to the agencies and caseworkers and stuff as well, to find out what they think maybe can be done that would work better, what things have been tried in the past that didn't work well, so I don't go down those same roads maybe as well. So I would be seeking input from all the different actors that are involved in the child needy care cases or the juvenile cases.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Andrew, this is Bob German, and I had to apologize. I've had the privilege of working with you on several cases over the past few years. I want to expand on my question, in my question to you, relating to judicial temperament. And I note that the child needed care cases, which are numerous here in Saline County, particularly in our jurisdiction. Many times they are complicated. They are driven in part by federal law and federal compliance. They're very emotionally impacted. Could you explain to this committee why you feel that you have the appropriate temperament experience to handle cases? And I realize you probably have dealt with many offenses on your application, and I would just like your response to that. Thank you.
Sure. I always try to approach things I've now been practicing as an attorney for 12 years. And I think the professionalism that we have in this profession is important. I think it's important to act professionally at all times. I've had people who are clients, people who are opposing parties, yell at me, call me names, those kinds of things. And I always say to myself, you can't let somebody else's frustration or anger affect the decisions that you make. How I choose to respond to a person is my choice. It's not driven by how they're going to act towards me. So I always have that choice to treat them with respect, to treat them with courtesy, to give them an opportunity to be heard. And I've always been somebody when I was at Kansas Legal Services in my current position, quite frankly, when there's people who call in or come to the window who are difficult or frustrated, it's non-common, I'm called upon and asked to go deal with them, because I think the people I work with recognize that I just have a calm demeanor about it. I am not going to return their frustration or anger with frustration or anger. I'm going to try to, I guess, basically kill them with calmness, I guess is the way to put it.
Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Mr. Couch, this is Peter Johnson again. I'd like to ask you a little bit about your work style. This is a pretty busy position. We've heard from Judge Young in that regard. Fast pace, a lot of cases, deadlines are important to parties. Can you kind of walk me through a little bit about your work style? Are you somebody that works paperless? Are you somebody that works with piles that you need to see? Are you somebody that naturally procrastinates a little bit? Sometimes that's hard to comment about oneself, but take a shot at it if you would.
Sure. I do like working with paper files. I like that kind of tactile ability to deal with the paper file in some ways, and then you can obviously make notes and flag things that you feel are important. But obviously we're moving into a more digital age, so I also have, with the way I work now with doing child support work, it's all electronic. I haven't been taking paper files to court with any regularity for probably about 3 years now. And so I take a lot of notes. I do that to kind of, after I reviewed a file, looked at the information, I take notes on the things that I think are important, things that I want to recall, those kinds of things. But you're right. Obviously, the dockets that this judge will be handling are large dockets. And as you said, there are a lot of timelines set by statute and by federal regulation that have to be met. So you have to be on top of that. So I do a lot of calendaring. I use my online calendar for work very frequently. If I have a hearing coming up and I not only calendar that hearing, but then a week out before that hearing, I calendar if we have to have submitted any witness lists or exhibits we want to submit. And then I'll have calendared out a week before that, have I gone through the exhibits, have these witnesses been contacted, those kinds of things. And then so I kind of take the end point that we want to reach, and then I work backwards from there to figure out how I'm going to do the work to get to that end point, and then put down important dates on the calendar to remember those types of things. And then two, if I've had to contact some other person in my current job to have them get information for me, then I calendar then a reminder for myself. I say, okay, I talked to this person. They're going to get me this document. They said by this date. So I'm calendaring it for that date so I can follow up with an email or a phone call to say, I haven't gotten that. Can you give me a status update on that? What's going on with that? Those kinds of things. Because, in the legal world, if you let things bog down, my experience has been that the problems usually get bigger. They don't get smaller.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I see.
All right, how about that?
There you go, yes.
I come to you from a law enforcement background and wonder what kind of experience you've had or how you dealt with law enforcement officers in the past.
Well, when I did criminal defense work, obviously I dealt with police officers, and I've dealt with Kansas Highway Patrol officers in the past, obviously as they were witnesses for state. So what would be the opposing party? I've always treated law enforcement officers with respect. I respect the job that they do. And I try to give respect as I would seek respect as well. I think I have a good working relationship with law enforcement. When I was doing defense work in the municipal court, I had good relations with the officers. When I would see them outside the courtroom, I didn't try to run and hide from them. They didn't try to run and hide from me. It would be hellos, how are you doing? Those kinds of things. So I think I've always had a good working relationship with law enforcement during my career.
Thank you.
Ouch. This is Jay Macy, and I come from a public school background of administration and had a pretty good relationship with Judge Thrower, and I thought she communicated well with us when we needed to. How do you see that working with you as a judge in Ottawa County and Saline County? And then a second question, I don't know if I should ask this, but one of the eligibility requirements is to reside in Ottawa County when you take the office, and your address is listed as Hillside. So I apologize if I shouldn't ask that, but I'm curious about it.
Well, it's your job on this commission to ask the questions. It's my job to answer them. So I'll start with your second question first, if you don't mind. We already have a contingent offer on a house in Minneapolis that's been accepted. And then we've also engaged the services of a realtor to sell our home here in Salina. And based on where our home is and market factors, our realtor has shown us that houses in this area typically sell within 10 days. So obviously no one's going to give you a guarantee on that, but we're fairly confident that we're going to be able to get our house sold soon, and if we need to. And in the event that is something that takes longer, I've already talked with the Office of Judicial Administration about exactly what resides means as far as that. They don't necessarily have some specific cases that they could point me to that answer that question, but essentially the kind of response I've received is that resides could mean essentially where am I going at the end of the day. And if that's the case, then I've also been in contact with a realtor. There's a couple of different houses in the Minneapolis or Bennington areas that are available for rent that I could get rented while I'm waiting for our house to sell and to close on this other house. So I've already been doing legwork to make that happen. I understand it needs to happen quickly, given that Judge Thrower is retiring in the middle of August. So if that answers your second question, I'll go to your first question, which I believe was related to Judge Thrower's relationship with the school system there in Ottawa County. Is that correct? Is that your question?
Yes, she was really good at communicating
Okay,
with
so
me.
assuming that was your question related to the relationship Judge Thrower has with the school system, I would like to, if I am in the position, I would like to work out a way to go visit the middle and high schools in Saline and Ottawa counties. Okay, so I would like to maintain those levels of communication. I would like to go visit the middle and high schools in Saline and Ottawa counties to meet with the principals, the persons in charge of those schools, and talk to them about how things are functioning in their schools. I'd also like to work on doing presentations to students about the judicial system. I think a lot of us are familiar with governments that are more executive in function, like the driver's license offices or police and those kinds of things, but people are not as familiar with the court system, the legal system, and how it works. So I would like to go and do presentations to the schools to talk about the work that I'm doing, to talk about how the legal system works and how it may affect them. And hopefully too, some of those kids that I may talk to may end up in front of me on juvenile cases or other cases, and maybe having had that presence, I will not be such a kind of unknown entity to them, and that may reap some rewards in helping work through the cases. I don't know if that will be a situation or not, but I would like to use the office that I have to just increase understanding at the schools about the courts and how they function.
Any other questions for Mr. Couch? That's been a good conversation. I don't want to cut anyone off. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. Mr. Couch, you have an opportunity to give any parting thoughts that you want to leave with the commission. And then we will, I'll thank you for your time and for your application. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Justice Eagle. And thank you again, members of the commission, for this opportunity to discuss my qualifications for this position. If chosen, I would strive to create a courtroom where all parties know that they have a fair chance to be heard, that will be professional in how it operates, and help maintain the trust and respect that people have in the judiciary. I would be honored to serve as magistrate judge and would work hard every day for the people of Saline and Ottawa counties. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much on behalf of both the Kansas Supreme Court and the commission. I know it's a lot to apply for these positions, and I'm going to thank all three of our applicants for putting yourself forward and being willing to serve. No matter how this comes out, that's a great service to your fellow Kansans, and we certainly appreciate it. I anticipate the commission's work will be wrapped up sometime fairly soon, later either this morning or early afternoon. And you can obviously either observe on YouTube, or we will be quickly in touch with you after the commission finishes its work. So with that, thank you. And you're welcome to, I guess, leave the Zoom room. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Marcia, do we have our next candidate in the waiting room?
Yes, we do.
Commission okay with just proceeding with the next interview? If anyone needs a break, we can always, I can declare a 5-minute recess if we need to, but unless you speak up, I'm going to just assume that we're going to move forward. All righty, well, let's bring in our next candidate.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Crawford. I'm Justice Stiegel. Welcome to the commission. I trust you can hear me.
I can, yes.
Good. Well, I can hear you, and I trust everyone else can hear you as well. We're glad you're here. At the outset, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. You can give any sort of opening statement or share any information that you want to start off with for the commission to consider, and then they'll probably pepper you with some questions, and you'll have an opportunity to have the final word after that. So with
Thank
that, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just wanted to first say I'm honored to be interviewing for this position. I do believe that I possess the skills and qualities necessary to fill this position. As currently the Assistant County Attorney, I'm very familiar with child native care cases as I cover those when necessary. I was in charge with the juvenile cases, both misdemeanors and felonies, up until I took over all non-person adult felony matters in October of last year. I know that the Judge Thrower was in charge of both child native care, truancy, and the juvenile docket there in Saline County. So I am familiar with all of that, as well as the updated laws concerning the juvenile justice codes. I'm also familiar with the immediate intervention program, or IIP, as well as the post IIP program. I also am familiar with reviewing search warrants before they go to the judge, as the police give that information to us. I've been doing first appearances since coming on in this position. I do the preliminary hearings for, I've done them for both the person felony as well as non-person felonies now. I've been in charge of being head of bench trials in some cases, and I've also done a number of jury trials as well. And I just look forward to your questions.
Ms. Crawford, I'm Peter Johnston. So, and let me just address kind of the geography of it. You live in Salina, you are a prosecutor in Abilene. So why would you like to be a judge in Minneapolis?
Well, one, I've always wanted to be a judge, pretty much since going through law school. My husband and I actually have a contract pending for a house in Tesket that we are scheduled to close on August 20th. And I originally started out in Abilene with this position, but then I got married to my husband in Salina. So we now live in Salina, but we do have a contract pending in Tesket.
And ma'am, if I can just follow up quickly, why, what is it about this position that speaks to you? I mean, you have a resume that might suggest that someday you might be interested in a district court judge position where you would handle full-blown felony jury trials, maybe in Abilene in a jurisdiction where you practice. What is it about this magistrate judge position that speaks to you that causes you to say, hey, that's what I ought to be doing?
I think that with my skill level, as well as the areas of law that I've become familiar with, I think that a magistrate judge position speaks to all of those areas. It gives me the ability to do a little bit of domestic as well as limited actions. I can do some civil issues. I like the variety. I like not knowing everything that's going to happen that day. It's not going to be specified that there's going to be variety, that I'm going to have the ability to go in and you know, be able to do a number of different things throughout the week.
Ms. Crawford, this is Bob Martin.
Hello, sir.
And we've had cases years ago together, and I had more hair then, so I'll apologize in advance if you don't recognize me.
That's okay.
When I go, and you may not know, and others do know, I coach softball. I have for years, and I always tell the umpires, all I want is consistency and control. I don't need you to be right all the time. And that kind of lays into being a judge as well, and what sort of temperament you would have, and what sort of, and how you would manage yourself and manage the game, manage the courtroom is what's going on there. what judge or judges are you most similar to as far as your temperament, or that you've seen and you've practiced in more than one district? And what attributes did you like about how they do things?
Well, when I was with Kansas Legal Services, Judge Sexton was one of the first judges I was in front of, and I appreciated his thoroughness in making certain that defendants understood their rights and understood what they were doing in court, and how he processed those cases. I appreciated that, and I believe I would also be able to do that. I'm also able to see both sides of every issue, even in the current position that I'm in. So I think as a judge, I'd have that ability as well. In Leavenworth County, I was in front of Judge Wiley a lot. I appreciated his demeanor. He never let emotions override him. And I try very hard in that same aspect to never let my emotions get the better of me. Certainly there have been times, but that's always behind closed doors and not in open court.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford.
Thank you.
Mr. Crawford, this is Dirk.
Oh, go ahead, Daryl.
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Ms. Crawford, this is Bob German. I've had the opportunity and the privilege to work with you also on some cases many years ago. I've reviewed your application, and I think for the most part in your opening comments, you answered my question. I did not see in your application where you have listed in handling child with need. I think you indicated, however, in your opening comment that you have in the past. Could you expand on that comment just somewhat and give us an overview of how much experience you've had with those cases?
Well, you came in and out with your question, but I believe your question was in relative in child need of care, of what experience I have specifically with child need of care.
Correct.
Okay. I was a guardian ad litem throughout going in my domestic practice in Leavenworth County. I did the court-appointed special advocate program while going through law school. I was also a big supporter of the First Judicial District CASA program. I did a number of private child need of care cases while in Leavenworth, and I also cover the child need of care cases here in Dickinson County when necessary. So I've had experience with the guardian ad litem part of the child need of care cases, as well as prosecution of those cases.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Crawford, Daryl Wilson.
Hello, sir.
I come to you from a law enforcement background, and I understand we used to have a lot of search warrants in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning or so, and I found judges to be rather cranky. And but I assume you've had to guide law enforcement through search warrants and so on. Could you tell us a little about that?
Certainly. Actually, one of my references was the chief in Harrington, and I've done a number of search warrants here recently where he did wake me up in the middle of the night because he needed a search warrant reviewed. And in Dickinson County, the prosecutors always review that before they go to the judge, because we want to make certain that they have the necessary probable cause and nexus that's necessary for that. And there are a number of times that I do have to call the officers or deputies back to let them know either something isn't clicking, it doesn't make sense, or it needs to be redone completely. And then I always try to be nice with that, but at the same time, I let them know that in order for this to be approved by the judge, you're going to need a little bit more. You're going to need to make certain that that training and experience comes through and it makes sense to an individual and a lay person, because not everybody has the criminal background and knowledge to know what, a T-ball means, so.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We've made it, I made it all the way to the Supreme Court, Federal Supreme Court in Wichita one time with the search warrant question that we lost, by the way. But
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But that's one of the things that I let the law enforcement know is that, you know, if this goes to the appellate court or any other court, you have to make certain that a lay person can follow your thought process.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Crawford, this is Lance Cochran. Being a judge requires a certain temperament. What about your disposition makes you qualified to become a judge?
Well, I am extremely patient with individuals. I try to make certain that I hear both sides in a calm fashion. I want to make certain that I get all of the facts that will be necessary for me to make an informed decision that's unbiased. I think punctuality is an important part of being a judge, and I am always punctual, if not ahead of time. So I think that I possess all of the skills that would be necessary for a judge position.
Ms. Crawford, if I may, let me follow up on that punctuality comment a little bit, because I often find myself asking someone who's interested in the bench about their work style, because as a lawyer in practice, I find myself at the mercy of the court in terms of issuing rulings for the parties. Sometimes the role of a prosecutor can be hectic a little bit. Doesn't always lend the kind of time and thoughtfulness that we'd want, and that I think is true sometimes in a judge setting. So can you talk a little bit about your work style and how you avoid maybe over procrastination, or if that's a problem for you or a challenge for you? I'd just be curious as to how you handle deadlines and that sort of thing.
That's a really great question. I am not much of a procrastinator. I like to plan. I like to make certain that I am prepared for my dockets ahead of time. Most of the time I am prepared for the week prior after, you know, I'm prepared a week in advance is what I like to be. And I wasn't able to do that with when we were shut down, and that bothered me. I don't like surprises, so I like to prepare ahead of time as much as I possibly can. And kind of with our journal entries, we like to have those prepared ahead of time so that we can kind of anticipate what will be happening, so that those journal entries can be done in a timely fashion. And typically I have those done right after those hearings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Crawford?
Yes,
I'm Christine Ritter. We talk a lot about temperament with judges and stuff. I've been in the courtroom a lot. How would you handle a situation as a judge if a juvenile offender was appearing before you, became unruly, started cussing, calling you names, just was very out of control?
You know, we deal with that as prosecutors now anyway. So a lot of times I try and de-escalate the individual as much as I possibly can. And if unable to do so, then I call law enforcement. And then they're in charge of taking care of that individual, either by taking them back if they are already in custody, or also talking them down from that situation. But really it's about respect, showing them respect and them showing the court respect. And as long as that's happening, you know, people can use whatever language they want to, but it's going to be respectful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Crawford?
Ms. Crawford, this is Jay Macy. I've been an administrator at Bennington and Minneapolis and Ottawa County in the public schools, and just wonder if you've ever had any experience, or as a judge, how you would deal with the schools and the communication and maybe be proactive in some areas with educating and that type of thing.
I am not as familiar with the school system as I would like to be for that question, quite honestly. So I'm not certain how I could appropriately answer that question without having a little bit more knowledge. Certainly I would, here in Dickinson County, we were able to implement a, much like the surge program in Saline County, but it's basically a program for truants to go through. It's kind of like a diversion program to help with whatever underlying issue is happening concerning that truancy. If it's a mental health issue, if it's, the parents having issues, we were trying to deal with that ahead of them having to come into court.
I'm not seeing any other questions. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time here this morning, Ms. Crawford. You have a chance to leave the commission with your final thoughts before they consider your application along with the others.
Well, I think that I've addressed a number of concerns that you may or may not have had. I do think that I have the areas of the law that are necessary for this particular position. And again, I'm honored to just be here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And certainly on behalf of both the Kansas Supreme Court and the commission, I want to commend you for your application and just for being willing to put yourself forward to serve. No matter how this comes out, that's a real service to your fellow Kansans, and it's a necessary part of our system. So thank you for your willingness to do that.
Thank you, sir.
At this point, you can go ahead and leave the Zoom room. The commission's work will be wrapped up today. You can follow along on YouTube, or we will be in touch with you as soon as the meeting ends. So thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Take care. Okay, Marcia, where are we at?
I don't see that Mr. Parks has requested access yet, but I told him about 10:45.
Okay.
I didn't know. Go ahead.
How about we take a 5-minute recess and everyone can at least stand up, stretch your legs, do whatever you want. Actually, let's say 10:50, we'll come back. Everyone can just leave your monitors on. Is that okay with everyone?
Yep.
Okay, we'll recess. The meeting will be in recess until 10:50. Thanks, everybody. All right, it's 10:50. Is everyone back? Looks like we have everyone back. Maybe Mr. Macy.
Yes, we're back.
I'm back. I don't know where my picture went though.
Okay.
I'm back.
Well, Jay, we'll let you work on that.
Okay.
In the meantime, Marcia, I think I see Jason has entered the waiting room, right?
Correct.
Are you able to communicate with him separately?
I don't know if I can't, I think I have to, well,
Just to make sure that I want to make sure he's ready before we bring him in.
it doesn't look like I can send him a message or anything. But I sent him an email asking him to request at 10:45.
Okay, good.
So.
Is Lance Cochran no longer with us? Did Lance?
Yeah,
drop?
I'm admitting him back now.
Right. Good catch. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't know. You are viewing Jay Macy's screen.
Yes.
I don't.
Jay, I think you accidentally shared your screen with the world here.
Yes.
So at the bottom, I think there's a little button that says share screen in green, and maybe you can click that and get out of it. Yep.
Okay. Now we have. Oh.
And Mr. Cochran, you're back with us, right?
Yes, it kicked me off for some reason.
Right. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Well, Jay, if you can hear us, we could probably proceed if that's okay with you.
That's fine. I can hear and see everybody. I just can't get my video back.
I don't know, on the three little dots up in the upper right corner, is there an option for you to click on video?
Well, it says stop video.
You might just click on that stop video button on the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna send you a message, ask to start video, and maybe once that pops up, it'll click for you.
Yeah, I just clicked that and I don't believe it did anything.
Okay.
I think there's something wrong with my camera because it's not, it says failed to start the video camera. Please select another camera. I don't have a camera, so.
Well, let's move forward then. And we will admit Mr. Parks to the Zoom room, and we'll move forward with his interview. Good morning, Mr. Parks. Can you hear me?
I can. Good morning.
Great. Well, it's good to see you here. I'm Justice Stiegel, and the commission is now you're the third and final applicant to be interviewed. Thus far, we've allowed each applicant to give some opening remarks, any thoughts that you might want to share with the commission about your interest and qualifications for the position. Then I'm sure they'll have questions for you, and at the end, we'll make sure to give you the opportunity to have the last word. So if that sounds good to you, the floor is yours.
It does. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you to all of you for taking your time today to do this. I am wondering what to talk about first. I think what's appropriate is to give you a sense of me. That's why we're here today. So I know you have the information that was submitted. I'm going to give you a little bit of the between the lines on that. So my story and my history there. I graduated from Minneapolis High School in 1994. I went to Benedictine College. I studied physics there and then later transferred to K-State and got a physics degree there. I then went to work in Wichita for a little bit and then eventually made my way to Kansas City and to law school at KU. I practiced law in Kansas City for about 10 years, large law firm practice. My wife and I, when my oldest child reached first grade, decided that it was time to come home. So we came back to Minneapolis. We pulled up stakes, sold the house, left our jobs, and brought all 3 kids back to raise them here. Upon coming back, I ran for county attorney. I was lucky enough to be selected to serve the county in that capacity. At about that time, we also started a business, bought the local paper, started another business, and have been on the entrepreneurial path since then. And so it's gone well. And we now have an office in Salina. And so those are I frame that in the way of a Facebook post, and those are all the good things that have happened. The in-between is the reality of life. The in-between and the reality is that every single one of those things I just described to you was actually an abject failure on my part. I went to Benedictine and I ended up studying physics because I didn't have a plan. It was a failure. I went into an office one day, we had a long line.
Lost the sound.
We've lost audio for you there. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Can
We
you
lost
hear
your
us?
audio. You're currently muted, Mr. Parks. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Am I back on track?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So that's what I did. So the reason I ended up studying physics was a failure. Okay. So then I went to law school. Well, that's a great thing. But what that was an abject failure on my part to be any good at selling insurance, because that's what I did before I went back to law school, and I stunk at it. So the smile and dial type sales that I was doing was awful. I couldn't do that. So law school was the next thing I did. And then if you fast forward to our business idea, the great idea that we had wasn't mine, it was my partner's. And I told him 3 times, no, we're not doing it. Turns out it was a good thing to do. Well, the reason this is important and the reason I even bring this up is because how do you keep going when you keep failing and you keep doing things incorrectly? For me, been 2 things. One, my wife, and the other one is my home. I was always grounded here in Ottawa County. I grew up here. It's my family, my roots, generationally, this is where we're from. That's why I'm here today, is because this is an opportunity for me to serve Ottawa County and to give back all the things that I've been given, to use the things that I've been able to, skills that I've been able to try to accomplish and do in my life and be able to give back to the community. So who I am is the why we're here today. If I was a carpenter, I'd build houses locally. If I was a mason, I would do stonework. I'm a lawyer, that's what I do. The 2 things that I know how to do are build businesses and practice law. And we have a business and I appreciate the opportunity locally to try to give good jobs to people. The other thing I can do is practice law. And so my way to serve is to do this. So I wanted to open with the who and the why.
Thank you very much. So questions from the commission?
Sorry, Justice Stiegler, can I hear you?
Mr. Parks, this is Peter Johnston. I'm curious, I just want to make sure I'm tracking with the timeline. I think it looks to me that you've been out of the law business since 2018. Can you walk us through?
Before we go too far, I
yes,
can't
sir.
hear any of you right now.
Okay, can you hear me speaking? No? Okay, all right. I am not muted, so.
I think the rest of us can hear. It may be something that can be resolved with a disconnect and reconnect.
I have nothing.
He's still not hearing. Marcia, do we have Mr. Park's phone number?
Well, I can send him a private message through here, and I can also send him an email to disconnect.
Send him a message. I think we could try the disconnect, reconnect. If that doesn't work, he may have to join us via the conference call.
An interesting interview. I don't know if you can still hear me or not, but I guess I have the floor, and I can just keep talking, but won't get us very far. Yeah, I will leave and rejoin.
Thank you. I guess while he's gone, I may as well ask if we continue to have technical difficulties here. I'm sorry. That the call-in number might be the easiest way to connect. Does anyone have a problem with that, or a better idea? Probably is the better way to say it.
No, I have him.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I don't either. That's probably what I would do.
Well, let's see if he can reconnect, and if it doesn't work, then I'll ask him to just call in via the conference call number.
And I did provide them with my cell number if they had any trouble, but he's ready to join.
Okay, let's bring him back in.
I can hear things, I think.
Okay, you're back. Can you hear me?
I can. Wonderful.
Excellent. Well, we'll do take 2 on the round of questions.
Understood.
With that, I don't know who had the floor, but I'll just throw it back to the commission.
Well, I think, Mr. Parks, I had started at least, so I'll try that again. And my question just basically was to make sure I was understanding, and maybe you could kind of walk us through that decision. It looked like in 2018 to get out of the law business.
Okay, so we're obviously having technical difficulties with the Zoom call there. Marcia, please.
The audio is just gone.
Let's send another message and make sure he has the call-in number, and that way we can continue the interview via audio at least.
Yes.
Call in
Yeah.
audio.
Yes.
Marcia, as long as you're in touch with him, I think the rest of us can just sort of stand at ease. We'll wait till we get him back. Okay.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Is that me?
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. Please, you entered 0. This meeting password is invalid. Please re-enter the meeting password. You are in the meeting now. There are 12 participants In the meeting, you have been put on hold by the host. You cannot listen or talk until the host releases the hold.
Oh.
You are muted. You can mute or unmute. You are unmuted.
All right. Can you hear me now?
That works.
All right. There's always a solution.
Yeah, thanks for everyone's patience for hanging in here with us, and hopefully we will go on uninterrupted. So back to
Good old
you.
telephone.
So, Mr. Parks, it's not that good a question for all the hubbub. But I think you got out of the law business in 2018. If that's correct, why and why do you want back in it?
Two reasons I was out. One was a little bit of burnout, but running a long stretch at a large firm or a lot of hours there. The other one, the main driver really was that the business we had started needed my full-time attention to get going. It was kind of like kindling, and that fire needed to be lit, and it needed me there all the time. And now I miss it. I really do. I didn't realize it was a part of me until it was gone, and now it is.
Mr. Parks, this is Bob Martin. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Things happen in life. Things happen every day. We have problems with people in the courtroom. We have problems with technology even over the past 10 minutes. One's temperament and one's organization are typically shown, in the courtroom on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Again, what judge or judges do you think you're most similar to as far as your temperament or your organization and how you deal with people, or you would propose to deal with people if you were put on the bench?
I believe, and now this is a stretch because I would in no way compare myself to him, but Judge Lungstrom is a judge I practiced in front of a lot when I was in Kansas City. His temperament was always very good. His knowledge of cases was always excellent, and I always appreciated practicing in front of him. And if I could model myself after a judge, it would be Judge John Lungstrom. And he was just somebody that I really admired from the bench. So that would be it. Temperament, I'm an even keel person. I take things in stride. I'm an analytical mind. I'm not an emotional reactor to things, except maybe technology problems. That's starting to get me a little flustered. But organizationally, yeah, I don't know how you draw this out on the personality scale. I'm probably too organized at times. That can be a drawback, but that is really how we've built our business, and it's my strength in that arena is organization and efficiency.
And I don't have any follow-up. I mean, I do know Judge Lungstrom. I knew him before he was on the bench, though, when he was teaching in law school. So that may date me a little bit there.
We won't hold that against you.
Mr. Parks, Daryl Wilson.
Mr. Parks.
Yes, sir. And sir.
Daryl Wilson, I'm in Salina. I was in law enforcement for 34 years. Did you leave the county attorney's office in Ottawa County midterm?
Yes, I did. It was midterm. So things you learn over the course of life and things you regret, that's one of them. I wouldn't have done that again. But the mounting need for me at my place of work was something that I couldn't ignore. I had people depending on me there. I had a lot of others too. But yes, that's a mistake I would not make a second time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
other questions? I think I heard it.
Mr. Parks, this is Lance Cochran. I've got a couple questions. I guess the first question is, Mr. Parks, can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Okay. I have a couple questions for you, Mr. Being a judge requires a certain temperament. About your makes you qualified to become a judge?
I think if I heard all that, it was kind of cutting out just a little bit. It requires a certain temperament, and what about my disposition and temperament would qualify me for that position? It's as I said earlier, I'm not an emotional reactor. I'm an analytical. That the temperament for me is all about balance. It's a balance of educational background, intelligence, confidence, the ability to communicate. All those things go into balance and into the mix. And those are skills that, as both a lawyer and a business person, I've been working on my entire life.
Mr. Cochran?
Second question, you've worked for some fairly prestigious, this is kind of a, yes, Your Honor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You're
now.
breaking significantly, but go ahead.
Can you hear me, Justice?
Go ahead, yeah. Well, let me just step in here, and it's always hard to tell what everyone else is hearing. I'm not hearing anything. Am I the only one?
No, you're not the only one.
I can hear you, Your Honor, but Lance, that
Thank you,
audio
Peter.
is
Right.
Lance, that audio is not working right.
And so, Lance, I think that I don't know whether
Okay.
you have the ability to type your question into the chat box. That might be the best way to get it answered. In the meantime, if there are other questions, Lance, I'm going to assume you can hear me saying that if you want to ask your questions, to type them into the chat box.
Mr. Justice, while Lance is doing that, this is Bob German. I was going to ask Mr. Parks one question. I don't think it'll take you very much to answer it. Mr. Parks, good afternoon. I've read your application and have a question about your comment included in section or in paragraph 23. Can't continue your ownership unless you convert that to passive ownership interest in your entity known as MTP up there in Minneapolis. Would you elaborate and expand upon your suggestion that ownership, and if you take that to the next level, you're a Minneapolis native, you have, I assume, several friends, acquaintances. Would that, in your opinion, result in you having to recuse yourself in cases which come before you as a district magistrate?
I think I heard most of that. Yes, I obviously have a lot of friends, acquaintances, family members in the area. To the extent that it was about just those contacts, no. To the extent the question, I think, was a little more pointed at business in the district. Our business is based here, but very little of the revenue actually comes from local business, from local work. So if it's a financial issue, no, I don't believe so. I suppose the very close circle of employees and things, would they happen to come before me? Yes, probably. It'd be smart not to adjudicate my employees or my family in that sense. But I hope I answered that question. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, it was cutting out just a little bit.
I'm sorry, but you did answer my question. Thank you.
You bet. Did we end up with a chat question?
I don't see one yet.
Okay, I didn't either.
Mr. Parks?
Bob Germany.
Yes,
I want
ma'am.
to tell you that my audio was cutting out, not to the question.
I'm Christine Ritter. Judge Thrower has done a great job up there in Ottawa County. You're familiar with how things run up there at being county attorney. So are there any things that you see could run more efficiently? And if so, how would you go about implementing those?
You're going to make me second guess Judge Thrower. Ouch. Okay. Yes, she has done a great job and she's done it for a long time. I do think there can be things that we've done more efficiently, just a little bit more, some of the different rules that can be put in place. Like I said, I really cut my teeth more on the federal model. So there are a few things there, I think, that having, some rules and structures in place, not having taken the seat yet or being in that seat, it's hard to say exactly what those efficiencies might be. But having been on the other side, yeah, maybe the order in which we call cases or the order in which we set them, maybe setting them on different days to the extent the schedule allows a little bit, those types of things. But efficiency is kind of how my brain works. So I would really like to get a knowledge and an experience base first and then focus on that efficiency. Right now, the court seems to work pretty well. Judge Thor's done a good job for a long time.
Mr. Parks, this is Lance Cochran. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my second or follow-up question, you worked for some, what I would argue are fairly prestigious law firms. This is kind of a change of pace compared to that work. Why would you be interested in being a magistrate judge?
That is to take that skill set and the things that I've learned there and serve this community with it. As I said earlier, if I was a carpenter and I'd been in a really big carpentry firm, I'd be building houses here. It's my skill set here. And until they open a top 100 law firm in Minneapolis, Kansas, I don't think that job is going to be available here. So what I can do is this, and what I can do to serve the people of the community is from the bench here. And so it is taking a skill set and applying it to the best way I know how.
Mr. Parks, I'm curious, and I know we get a lot of questions about judicial temperament and
Yep.
Sometimes maybe too many, so I don't mean to ask one that you've already had to field, but it just seems to me that the role of the local newspaper owner or of a local school board member is different than the role of a judge. And I wonder if you see it that way, and if so, how you see yourself handling that potential transition.
Oh, absolutely, it's different. The transition, for one, is a transition up for me into a higher level of service, and that's why I'm here. It's an opportunity to do much more. My outside, somewhat inside, somewhat outside assessment of watching our judge work is that there's 75, maybe 80% of the job is traffic cop. It's stuff coming in and out, and it's technical in nature, and it's just churning the wheel. There's a good 20-25% of it that seems to be a lot more on the social work side. That's the impact that's where you can make an impact as a person and as a judge from the bench. I believe there are those cases that just call out for for that sort of touch. Again, from the outside looking in, I might have a different story for you in a later time, but that's my vision of what that is and why that is. Yeah, you can write an editorial, but heck, who's going to read it and who cares? And then everybody has a comment. I mean, we've all seen Facebook posts. Editorials in small town newspapers are not a whole lot better than Facebook posts sometimes. It's a much different world. So yeah, the opportunity is much greater and the responsibility much higher.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Parks? I'm not seeing any, so this would be your opportunity to have the final word here and leave the commission with any final thoughts. Okay, just real quickly, as we've suffered through technology failures and you guys have given up your entire morning, in making the decision to be here today and to apply here, I want you to know that from my standpoint, it's never been about a job interview. It's always been about a request to be allowed to serve. And I've said that several times, but it's because it's what's important to me. The opportunity to serve the community is why I'm here. I don't need another job. I would like the opportunity to give back to the community that raised me, that is helping raise my children, that is where I am from generationally, where my wife is from generationally, where we have chosen to make our lives. That's what this is about for me, is about our community and making it the best place we can. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that, Mr. Parks, and certainly on behalf of the Kansas Supreme Court, as well as the commission, thank you for your willingness to put yourself forward and your willingness to serve. That's an admirable thing that is a real service to your fellow Kansans, no matter what happens here the rest of the day. And it's certainly something that's very necessary for our system to function well. So just as I told your fellow applicants, thank you for your willingness to do that. The commission's going to move forward with the rest of its work. You're welcome to follow along on YouTube if you'd like, or we will be in touch with you as soon as our work is done. So with that, thank you, and you're free to step out of the Zoom. Thank you, and have a great day. Thank you. Okay. Is everyone okay to proceed without a break? Or if anyone wants a break, speak up. Okay, let's move forward then. We've had our interviewees in front of us. I thought it was a good discussion with all three of them. At this point in our agenda, we need to settle on the appropriate voting procedure. And just as a little bit of background, I've seen commissions choose all sorts of different voting procedures. None of them are right, none of them are wrong, as long as everyone agrees to it ahead of time and sticks with it, and it's a fair process. I'll be honest, most of the time when I've been chairing commission meetings that have utilized rounds of voting or perhaps more complex voting procedures, it's been because we've had a much larger number of applicants. Now with only 3 applicants, I think it would certainly be appropriate if the commission desires to consider essentially a much simpler voting process where each commission member would just vote for one person. But that's just my opening salvo. It's your decision, as I've repeated many times. I'm just here to facilitate. So how would you all like to proceed? This is the time to discuss that.
Well, Your Honor, from my vantage point, simpler is better. With maybe just 3 candidates, it seems to me we might well be able to do a simple vote for one and see how that might come out. I'm not trying to foreclose discussion, of course, but just strictly in terms of the nuts and bolts of the vote procedure itself, it seems to me that simpler would be better in this case.
I agree.
Thank you.
I would agree.
I would agree to.
I'm hearing agreement. Does anyone have any disagreement, soft or hard? So the way I could envision this working is simply the commission could choose to give each commission member one vote. And if one candidate obtained a majority, which in this case would be 5 votes, that person would be selected. And if no candidate received a majority, so everyone was 4 or less, then you would proceed to a second round between the top 2 vote getters. That would be how that would work. Does that make sense to everyone, how I just described that?
Yes. Yes, that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Well, I would entertain a motion to adopt that voting process for this vacancy.
This is Bob German. I would make that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so that Peter can get this down, I think I heard Mr. German make the motion. I heard a second, but I wasn't sure whose it was.
I believe it. Okay. Thank you.
And at least on my screen, I show certain members of the commission maybe dropping off and rejoining. I want to make sure that I'm not losing anyone. Mr. Cochran, you in particular, are you still tracking?
I show his video and audio should be working on my side, but I don't know if he can communicate.
Let's give him a second to see if he connects.
And I want to make sure, I see Mr. Macy has unmuted himself, so I want to make sure that he is able to.
I can hear everything and talk to you. I just you can't see me.
Great.
I think my camera's not working.
Well,
and we just lost Mr. Cochran, I think.
Marsha, I'm going to ask you to get in touch with him and ask him to call in. I do not want to proceed with the commission meeting with one member only half with us.
Yeah, he's.
And I apologize to everyone else, but if you could just sort of stand at ease, I want to make sure we get our full complement back before we move forward.
I've sent him a message to see if he's able to call in.
Great. At this point, just for everyone's convenience, I'm going to suggest that we take a 5-minute recess. So we'll recess till 11:33. That gives you a chance to stand up and move around at least.
I'm going to see if I can call him. Mr. Cochran?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Justice Deagle, can you hear Mr. Cochran?
Yeah, Mr. Cochran, I think it might be best if you're able to call in.
Oh, okay, I'll call in.
Because you're yeah.
I'll call in.
Great, thank you. Your connection's just not strong enough. Thank you.
Well, I thought I'd share in case anybody was interested. The last commission I worked with that we did this, they were all curious as to see how many were watching on live, the live stream, and the highest we've had is 27. So and right now we're at 25. And Mr. Cochran is waiting. I'll admit him.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that is much better. We can hear you loud and clear now.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm just scanning my screen to make sure we have all 8 members, and I think that we do. Double check me on that, Marcia. Okay, let me reset. We are all persevering through our technological challenges, but we're still on track. I believe where we were just a moment ago was that there had been a motion made and the motion was seconded. And I will try to summarize the motion. The motion maker or the second can correct me if they think I get this wrong. But my understanding of the motion is to approve a voting procedure that would give each commission member 1 vote. In other words, you would simply vote for your top candidate. If at the conclusion of that round of voting, one of the applicants has received a majority, that would be 5 or more, then that applicant would be selected by the commission as the next district magistrate judge. If none of the candidates received that majority, then you would proceed to a second round of voting between the top 2 vote getters. That's my summary of the motion. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Justice, this is Bob German. That's my understanding of the motion.
I'm not seeing any discussion, so I will move to the vote. If all those in favor would signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, so that motion will carry unanimously. So now we know our voting procedure, and we can move now to an open discussion of the candidates. And this is really as open-ended as you all want it to be. I would just remind the commission that should you desire to have any discussion about any of the matters that we covered in the confidential briefing earlier this morning, I would just ask that you would, prior to raising that question, make a motion for us to retire to executive session if you so desire. Again, that's not necessary, but that's just a caution so that we can protect any confidential information. And again, it's entirely up to the commission. We could move straight to the voting. It's entirely up to you.
Your Honor, this is Bob Martin, and I would say that we've been very blessed to have three very competent, good candidates today, all three of which I've worked with previously. And with that, it's going to be a hard decision, but I think we'd be well served to move towards a vote right now, if that's acceptable to everyone else.
I would concur with Bob. This is Lance.
And this is Bob German. I would concur with Bob and Lance.
I'm in favor. Darrell Wilson.
So I'm hearing a consensus emerge, which is fine. That's what's next up on our agenda. I just want to make certain that I am not unnecessarily moving past someone's question, or now's the time to speak up. And if not, that's fine.
Well,
Okay.
This is Peter Johnson.
So let's
I'm
move-
certainly comfortable with that procedure. I do want to just add that these are, in my experience, these are three very good candidates. And I want to thank them to the extent we already have, but to the extent we haven't, I do want to thank them for their work and applying. We're lucky to have all three. They're terrific candidates.
Okay, so you all have received paper ballots from Marcia, and we're plowing new ground here with running a nominating commission meeting via Zoom. We did have one commission go ahead of us a couple weeks ago, and I think what that commission did was everyone marked their paper ballot, and then they took a photograph of the paper ballot with their phone and sent it to the departmental chair. So we can do that. I think that it may just be easier for each of you to email me your ballot. And for purposes of the permanent record, Marcia can simply print those emails off and they'll be preserved in the file. What's everyone think? I guess let me go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I'm just curious, and I'm happy for it not to be a good idea, but could we not just use the chat feature?
We could. My only hesitancy there is I need to, these are open records, and I don't think that produces a record that I can actually distill to writing. So I need a record to put in the file. But I think an email suffices for that. And if no one objects, that's going to be what I suggest. That is fine by me, sir. Okay. I trust that you all have my email address. It's been, I can just say it, it's public email address. It's stiegelc@kscourts.org. And it's copied on some of the informational emails that you received from Marcia. You would simply, at this point in time, cast your ballot via email by sending me an email, and in the subject line, just indicate that this is the 28th District Nominating Commission first round vote, and indicate your preference of the three by typing the name in the body email. I trust them. At that point, once I receive 8 ballots, I will report the tally back to the commission.
I want to make sure I have the email right. It's stiegelc@kansascourts.com.
Except that it's kscourts.org.
Okay.
kscourts.org. Marcia, you can feel free to type that in the chat box, my email address, if you want as well.
Mr. Justice, Is that School K? Is that correct?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question, Mr. German.
Is STEGALK?
No. STEG. Okay, it's in the chat there. That's probably the easier way to
Got
look at. Yep.
Thank you.
Well, I'm having a little problem here with my email.
Bob German, I had another question. Do we need to complete the ballot and send a PDF, or can we just send an email?
Sorry, I'm back. I heard the question, and my preference would be that you just send it in the body of the email as opposed to a PDF. That being said, I can take it any.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if my email went or not.
I've received most of them, but it may take a minute for them all to come in.
Did you receive my email?
I have received 7 votes at this point, and let me just read off the people whose votes I have received. I've received Lance Cochran's vote, Peter Johnston's vote, Jay Macy's vote, Dave Stanley's vote, Chris Ritter's vote, Robert Martin's vote, and Dee Wilson.
Well, let me try and send it again. I don't know what keeps kicking back.
Yeah, I think that's you, Mr. German, as the final vote.
I just, again,
Can you tell if it went through?
I may.
There we go. I just received it. Give me 1 second to do a tally here, everybody. You can stand it. I'm going to double check my count. All right, I've counted and double counted, and I have the tally from the first round of voting. We are going to have to move to a second round of voting. The tally in the first round of voting was Jason Parks received 4 votes. Ms. Crawford received 3 votes. Mr. Couch received 1 vote. So based on our pre-approved process, Mr. Couch will be eliminated and we will proceed to a second round of balloting between Ms. Crawford and Mr. Parks. And in the event of a tie, I think we'll come back and discuss what to do since our approved process did not go that far. So you can now go ahead and cast your ballot in the second round. Please mark clearly on the email or on your paper ballot that it is the second round of voting so that we have a clear record. Does that make sense to everybody? Great. I believe I've received everyone's second round vote except for Mr. German.
Sorry about that. I sent it. Let me send it again. Did that go through?
Let's give it a second and see. We know it can work because I got your first ballot, so.
I don't know where it's going. I'll send it again. Third time's a charm. Did that work?
I haven't received anything yet.
Let me go up to another computer.
And just to check, you're certain that the email address you're using has been the same?
Justice, did we decide to send in this mail-in ballot, send in the written ballot?
Go, I'm sorry, what was that?
Did we decide to send in the written ballot to?
All of your notes and yes, the short answer is yes. Everything that you've written down should be sent in for preservation in the file.
All right.
I think Justice, he may have been asking about the actual ballot form, which if I'm understanding correctly, we do not need to fill out the paper ballot form.
Correct. My answer to that would be if you chose to fill out the ballot form, which some of you did, then it should be included in what you send in. But the process that the commission agreed to did not necessitate that because several of you just voted by email. And as I mentioned earlier, our office will print off all of those emails. So those paper copies will also be preserved in the file. I hope that makes sense.
I'd be glad to send my notes, but nobody can read them but me, so.
Mr. Jack, receive that mail. I sent it from my assistants.
Well, I hate to say it, but I don't have anything.
I just can't figure that out.
And this is Judge Young. Earlier, you were, I think, attempting to repeat Justice Steagall's email address, but you were muted. So you might want to try that again.
Okay. Hold on.
And we could also ask Mr. German to send it to Marcia instead. That may work easier.
I am
Mine
so
went to Marcia.
It's STEGALC at kansascourt.org.
Two L.
Bob,
Oh,
Bob, I just
2L?
sent you an email. Bob, I just sent you an email with Justice Steagall's email address, and you can just reply to that and take me off.
Okay.
Thank you, Lance.
Okay.
Bob, just make sure you indicate it's your second round vote, please.
Oh, I will.
Thank you.
I apologize for slowing this process down.
I think we're all happy to say it's no problem.
Maybe.
You did not hear that from me, Mr. Chairman.
I just took the executive reins and spoke on behalf of everybody, so.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Give me 1 second to make a tally here. Well, I thought I had it. I don't have it yet, sorry.
You don't have mine?
I do not yet. Did you reply to the email that Mr. Cochran sent?
I'm looking.
I do have that one.
Oh, you do have that one.
Bob, I just replied to the email I got from Marcia.
Okay. I don't know. I thought I was technologically equipped.
I think you are.
All right, do you have still not have it?
Bob, do you have an email from Marcia in your inbox?
That's just what I was looking at. And
Did
it had
you,
email,
you could just reply to that email.
just reply to her email.
Right. And she'll send it on to me.
All right.
So much for modern technology.
I'm for yeah, the telegraph. Run the telegraph line or something.
I replied to Marcia.
Should have tried smoke signals.
That's next.
Okay, I have it. Give me 1 second to tally and double check everything, okay? Okay, if everyone can rejoin us, I'll announce the results of the second ballot. Tally was Mr. Parks received 5 votes and Ms. Crawford received 3 votes. So with that majority attained on the second ballot, the commission appoints Mr. Jason Parks to fill the vacant position as district magistrate judge. Any questions or comments? Like I said, we will preserve all the ballots and they're part of the public record and can be inspected by anyone. Okay, well, thank you all for your excellent work. As I said to each of the candidates, I think it goes double for you all, certainly from the Kansas Supreme Court and the whole judicial system. Thanks you for your service. For anyone watching here, you folks aren't getting paid. This is just part of your volunteer service to the good of the state. So I want to make sure to acknowledge that. It's a vital part of the process. Typically, our office will notify the candidates of the outcome, but I always like to give commission members the opportunity to make those calls if they prefer, because you all probably, or at least may, have more direct local relationships with folks. So that's usually the last question that I ask. If no one jumps at that opportunity, which is totally fine, our office will go ahead and do that. Does that sound good with everybody?
Okay, me.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sure, that sounds fine.
Does anyone have any other business for the commission before we adjourn? Not expecting to see any and not seeing any. We'll talk to you all soon, probably. Thank you for your good work. We will be adjourned.
This is Judge Young. I would also like to thank each of the commission members for serving. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Judge Young. I will prepare some minutes, which I will send to Ms. Johnson. And I don't know how those would be approved, but I presume I'll probably be sending them around by emailed to the commission. So you might just look for those in the coming day or hours.
Great, thank you. And actually, Peter, I think it would be appropriate for us to provide to you the ballots, just so you can you can make sure that that's recorded accurately in the minutes.
That would be fine, sir. I'll
We'll
work
do
with
that.
Ms. Yes, sir. That would be fine.
Okay, excellent.
Well.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.